If you love to travel, you know today's guests. It is an honor to have Pauline Frommer, who's the president of Frommer Media, join us on this episode. Welcome to the podcast, Pauline.
Well, thank you. It's a delight to be here.
Welcome to the KeeKee's Big Adventures Family Travel Podcast, here to help inspire and plan your family's next big adventure. KeeKee's Big Adventures all started with the award-winning picture book series starring KeeKee, the globe-trotting cat, exploring the world's diverse places, people, and cultures. I'm Shannon, the author and creator of KeeKee's Big Adventures. Moms and families loved the books and asked for help planning their own adventures, so the podcast was created to help. Adventure awaits! Thank you so much. Frommer's has released their best places to go in 2026 list, and we're going to get all into it today. But first, Pauline, tell the listeners a little about yourself and your amazing company.
Well, we are a proudly family-owned company. My dad founded it. It was kind of a fluke. He was drafted into the Army during the Korean War. And luckily for him, because he was the son of immigrants, he spoke Russian and German. The Cold War was raging, so they thought, why send this guy to Korea? Let's send him to Berlin instead, where he did a lot of interesting things.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, well, very briefly, back in those days, they thought if the East was going to invade the West, there was going to be an uptick in food production. And so every day, spies would come to him and tell him how many chickens were slaughtered or how many loaves of bread were baked. And he had to keep these massive lists for the army.
Wow.
And they would watch these lists to see if there were any changes, and that would mean an invasion.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? But in his free time, he started traveling all over Europe. You know, he was the son of poor immigrants. His father worked in a clothing factory. He never thought he'd have the money to travel. And so every leave he got, he would go to Paris or Rome or Madrid, and he just reveled in his good fortune. But his fellow GIs stayed close to the base because you have to remember this is right after World War II. Europe is still in rubble. And they thought if they didn't have money, they wouldn't be able to travel well. And they would pepper him with questions because he had no money. And he thought, well, maybe I'll write a little book. He called it The GI's Guide to Europe. It sold out. And then when he became a civilian, he self-published another little book called Europe on $5 a Day,
Yeah.
which became the best-selling guidebook of all time and changed his life.
That's
And
so
so
amazing.
yeah. And so we've gone through many iterations, but we're back to being a family-run company. And I think I'm proudest of the fact that not only am I keeping my dad's vision going, and we still try and tell people about vacations that have value, not
Mm-hmm.
only in terms of cost, we never want anybody to overpay, but also in terms of how they open up your life and your mindset and your world. So that's very important to us. And in this time, it's become very hard for journalists to make a living, and we employ journalists all over the world.
That's
Which,
amazing.
yeah, I'm proud of.
That's really a good segue
Yeah,
into
into the list.
yes, into the best places to go in 2026. If you're not subscribed, you have to subscribe to Frommer's emails. We'll include links to those in our
Fabulous.
podcast description and a link to this list. So all of that will be there. But I do love that approach that you have in terms of making it approachable, doesn't break the bank. And especially for families, it's expensive to travel, 3, 4 people.
My father traveled with me from the time I was 4 months old. And when you asked him about family travel, he would say, don't do it.
Really?
I apparently was a hellion and I ruined a lot of trips.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I traveled with my daughters, who are now 22 and 26, and I think it shaped them into better people. I think it really made them the great human beings they are.
I so completely agree. And that's obviously what we're all about and why we want to introduce families and kids to travel in the world. Growing up, my mom was a flight attendant. Early on, we were just traveling the US, but then got to go to Europe. That just really opened up my eyes and made me want to live in Europe. And I did. We lived in Amsterdam for 4 years, which is
Oh
where
my
the whole
goodness.
idea for KeeKee's Big Adventures came to be. So I totally agree with you. It's just so very important. And getting into the list for 2026, there's such a great variety. You're hitting all the continents. So tell us about the list and how it comes together.
Sure, we polled our writers all over the world and we asked them what places are going to be particularly visit worthy in the coming year. Like sometimes there are great destinations that nobody goes to because there's no direct flights there. And so a bunch of places on the list for the first time ever have direct flights from the US, and most of our audience is US based.
Right.
Other places are celebrating special occasions. So they're going to be really interesting to visit in the coming year in a way that they won't be in years after that. So you want to go next year. Other places are more affordable suddenly, or might be a good twin for a more crowded destination.
There's some amazing events going on next year. Do you want to run down the list?
We didn't mean for this list to be read in any particular order.
Okay.
So we started with Chicago, but we don't think it's necessarily the best place to go in the entire world, although we think it's a damn good place to go. We love Chicago.
That's great.
And because Chicago will see the debut of the Obama Presidential Center, I think it's going to be a really exciting time to be there. Interestingly, unlike other presidential libraries, this is an entire campus. It's 9 acres. The centerpiece of it is this obelisk of a skyscraper. In fact, they're calling it the Obamalisk. It's going to change the way that the lakefront of Chicago looks. And there's a great museum at its heart, but there's also a basketball court. It's Obama
Of
after all.
course.
There's also theaters, so there's going to be special performances. There are gathering spaces for the community. They're hoping that this becomes a place where educational programs can take place. So, for that reason, and also in Chicago debuting, is going to be a campus center for magic.
Oh,
They are creating this kind of crazy castle of performance spaces and restaurants where you can have really good food and watch people do close-up magic, and then theaters where you'll see bigger types of magic. So interestingly, they're trying to grab that segment of the performing arts, and it's very interesting to me.
yeah, that's really great.
Chicago is also the start of Route 66. It's the 100th anniversary of Route 66. And so it'll be a great year to drive that mother road and maybe start it in Chicago.
That's a great idea. I didn't even realize it starts in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Chicago to Santa Monica, California. It's a long road and a very interesting road for families. You'll show your children a side of America they may not have known, with these kitschy motels and these neon signs, blasts from the past. It's a really fun drive. And then, not too far outside the United States, in the Alberta region of Canada, we are saying go to Jasper. Jasper, you may remember, had terrible, terrible wildfires, but they are taking lemons and turning it into lemonade. The truth is, if you go to Jasper today, it's still as gorgeous as ever. You have these shockingly blue lakes, you have these old growth forests, these snow-capped peaks, but they are actually taking people into the burn areas and teaching them on different tours about fire ecology.
Wow.
And my colleague Zach was worried that Jasper might not be taking these tours into the future, but they've been so incredibly popular that they're going to continue teaching people about what we need to know about wildfires, since that's becoming a much more common thing. So you can have the classic trip to Jasper, go out and camp, hike in the wilderness, have all kinds of adventures, and then there's this educational component, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that could be really great for families in terms of learning. So that's fantastic. You also had some interesting things in the US. There's a big birthday celebration.
Oh, yeah. It's the 250th birthday of the United States. Of course, the major cities in the original colonies, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, they are going crazy
Going
for
all
this
out.
anniversary. There's going to be all kinds of really interesting celebrations. What interests me more is in Virginia, you have a lot of historic sites like Mount Vernon, which was the home of George Washington, like Colonial Williamsburg. I have to tell you, we once celebrated Thanksgiving at Colonial Williamsburg with my father and my stepsister and her children and my children. They were about, I think, ages 8 to 14, and they so got into it. They got to dress up in colonial era costumes and they were talking to the reenactors. And they absolutely loved their time there. I thought it was going to be hokey. It's not hokey at
It's
all.
not. I love going there. I'm originally from Virginia. And when you get there, you get into it. I mean, it
Yeah.
just kind of surrounds you, and there's the nice hotel there and the restaurants. I could see it being a fun place for Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
actually.
We had a colonial Thanksgiving feast. It was really fun.
It's
It was
great.
absolutely wonderful and something my kids still talk about today. So they're going to be introducing a lot of new programs. So the programming will be even more fresh in 2026, which I
Oh,
think is exciting. Lots of great things happening around the United States to remind us about the founding ideals of our nation. I sometimes worry that American history is not being taught as much as it used to be. And to learn about government for the people, by the people, is really important.
I was happy to see Asheville on your list too. They
Yeah.
have suffered some
They're
pain.
coming back.
They
Oh,
are.
absolutely. They're coming back. And
Yes.
it's another destination that's turning lemons into lemonade. The River Arts District, which is this cool, very bohemian district, about 50% of the artists are back. The nature areas are 90 to 100% back. So a great place to go to kayak, to hike, to get out into nature. And the centerpiece of it has always been the Biltmore Estate, which is the largest personal home in the United States. It's this incredible Gilded Age mansion. And they're adding what sounds like an amazing projection show to the facade of the building. You're going to sit there as the sun goes down, and they're going to be projecting a movie, kind of, that tells the history of the building on the building itself. I think
Cool.
it should be really cool. Lots of new restaurants, lots of new hotels opening next year, lots of rebirth there. If you want to support a community that has been incredibly resilient and has always been this quirky, joyous place, go to
Yes.
Asheville.
It is totally. One of my favorite times there is the holiday season. The Biltmore
Yeah,
mansion
yeah.
is amazingly decorated. It's such a beautiful place. Maybe we'll hop over to Europe. I liked some of the things you had on the list in Europe.
Yeah, I went to Vienna the year before last for the very first time. I fell in love with it. You have to remember, Vienna was the center, the headquarters for the Holy Roman Empire, for the Habsburg family for 800 years.
Wow.
And so it's just castle after cathedral, after mansion, after monument. It's just this extraordinarily beautiful place and very old places like
Yes.
the Berg Theater, which is the Austrian state theater, is turning 250. And so there's going to be all kinds of special celebrations around that. That was one of the reasons we chose Vienna. But it's also a place where they just know how to live in Vienna. That's what really struck me when I was there. In the summer, they have all of these festivals and they set up libraries on the sidewalk in Vienna with beanbag chairs. And I kept
Wow.
seeing families with children reading picture books on the sidewalk,
That's
having a
amazing.
ball. Yeah, and there's, of course, incredible pastries and
Okay.
very child-friendly food. So there's a couple of anniversaries in Vienna that will make the city really exciting. We also picked in Finland, the very obscure city of Oulu, it's spelled Oulu, which is about 60 miles south of the Arctic Circle, and it has been named the European Capital of Culture for 2026.
Aha.
This really interesting designation. There are different cities each year. It's been going since 1986, but since the 1990s, they've picked more obscure destinations because they want to bring a spotlight to those places. And so Oulu is noteworthy in that it's a place where there's a lot of Sami culture, Sami. We don't think of Scandinavia as having indigenous peoples, but it
Oh,
does.
wow.
And so the festival will celebrate their culture. There's also this cool thing called the Arctic Food Lab, where they're going to take people to farms and have different meals, and you can learn what it takes to survive and grow and cultivate and catch food that near to the Arctic Circle. They also in summer have floating saunas. You
Oh,
get
I've
on
seen
a
those.
boat. Isn't that
Yes.
crazy?
That is so crazy.
Yeah. So floating saunas. And they have not part of the European City Capital of Culture, but every year this is the place where the World Air Guitar Championship takes place.
Well, of course.
Of course. And so it's this wacky celebration. But in terms of the city of culture, what happens is artists take over the city. And these cities know about a decade in advance that they are going to have this designation. And so often they will build new museums. In Marseille, when it was the city of culture, they created an incredible new museum and a whole new transportation system to get
Amazing.
people around the city better. So there will be artists, public artworks all over the city. There will be dance and opera and theater and children's theater and all kinds of things happening in Oulu all year long that will make it just a great year to be there.
That sounds incredible. And a destination
Yeah.
you wouldn't think about going and a fantastic time to go.
Yes, and Finland is so clean, so safe. It's a great family destination, and you can get out into nature. One of the things they do in winter, the sea totally freezes over, and so they ride fat bikes on the sea,
Oh, that's so
bizarrely
cool.
enough. Isn't that cool? And
That
so there's all
is.
these outdoor things you can do in these old growth forests that surround Oulu. It's a great urban and nature getaway.
Very cool. And then I saw you also had Greece. Where did you have in Greece? I wasn't familiar with that place.
Costa Navarino. It is not a Greek island, and yet
Okay.
it has a lot of the hallmarks of going to a Greek island. So beautiful beaches, old ruins, lovely resorts, although not that many resorts. It really is pretty much undiscovered. So
That's
you
nice.
won't have the crowding, you won't have the high prices, but it's going to soon be discovered. So we're saying go now because it is being featured in a new blockbuster film of the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, which is
Oh,
going to star Matt Damon and Zendaya. And so we think there's going to be a lot of attention to the Costa Navarino. So we say go now because now you can really experience real Greek culture there. It's very easy to get there from Athens. It's part of the mainland. So a great place to go.
there's so much to explore in the mainland of Greece.
Oh,
It's just a such
absolutely.
a beautiful country, wonderful people. I
Not
just
expensive. It's one of the most affordable parts of Europe. Yes, you can spend a lot if you go to a fancy smancy resort on, on a Greek island, but you can also do it quite affordably.
I love that. Okay, so maybe we'll hop over to Asia.
Asia. Well, this is another one that is for the what are called set jetters. Instead of jet setters, it's people who want to see where films are being made.
Oh, I love
And
that.
in the Philippines, there is this archipelago, and the main island is called Palawan. And it is one of the most strikingly beautiful places you've ever seen. If you remember the movie Avatar,
Yes.
it looks like that with these incredible karst cliffs rising totally vertically out of this sea that is bluer than blue. And a new rom-com starring Daisy Ridley. You may remember her from the Star Wars films. That was filmed there. I think it's called The Last Resort. And we think it's going to really bring a lot of people to this incredibly idyllic area of the Philippines. And so we're saying go there before the crowds arrive.
I love your giving the inside scoop an
Yeah.
opportunity to get there before everyone else does.
And another one, if you've ever wanted to take your family on safari, but then have been just stunned by the prices, because safaris can be outrageously expensive. For a family of four, it is not unusual to spend $5,000 a day
A
because
day.
a day.
Wow.
And that's because often you're going to private game reserves that have been stocked with these animals and that have incredibly luxurious places to stay, incredibly luxurious food. But you don't need that, especially as a family traveler. You're there really to see the animals.
Yes.
And so Kruger National Park in South Africa is turning 100. And we use that as an excuse to shine a light on it because you can do your own self-drive safari to Kruger and spend for a family of four about $100 a day.
That's amazing.
That's before airfare, which can be pricey, but still so much less expensive. What you do is it's kind of like going to a national park here in the United States, except there are electrified fences around where you camp because they don't want
Right.
lions getting at you. So you're in a rental car, you're driving around. In the morning, the national park rangers will tell you where they think the animals will be that day. And so you follow their directions. Kruger National Park is about the size of the state of Connecticut.
Oh,
So it's a
wow.
big place. There's lots of different ecosystems to see. You can see the big five: elephants, lions, leopards, zebra. They're all there, but you don't have to pay that much. And because you're not in a van with other people, you're driving your own rental car. If the kids get tired, you could just go earlier to the next campground and they can hang out. And there's often swimming pools and activities for children. It's a very, very family friendly way to do an African safari.
I love that. And we had South African tourism on the podcast, and they were talking about what you're saying. Once you get there, it's very affordable, very easy to drive. There's beautiful, like the garden route, and just like really nice things for families.
And use it as an excuse to see the rest of South Africa, which is a fascinating place. You go to Cape Town, you can go to
Yes.
Robben Island, where Mandela was imprisoned for 20 years, and you can teach your children about the history of apartheid. Just a spectacular country.
Also, very interesting, Argentina. I never thought about what was it? Has the Galapagos
Well,
of.
we're calling it
Okay.
the Galapagos of Argentina because this incredible organization called Rewilding Argentina bought up pristine wilderness lands to shelter it from development. And this is a massive, massive new park. In fact, I said Kruger was the size of Connecticut. Now I'm thinking maybe it was this park that was the size of Connecticut. But it's this incredible nature area where you can go. It's called Patagonia Azul. I've been to Patagonia, which is a region shared by both Chile and Argentina. And it's a very brown place. It's a lot of pampas, it's a lot of towering peaks. Patagonia Azul, Azul means blue, and that perfectly says what this is like because it's a lot of ocean that has been protected. And so you go there and you go on a penguin safari
Oh,
where
fun.
penguins waddle up to you and you see sea lions and you see all kinds of other marine animals in this beautiful, fully protected area that has just opened. So you'll be one of the very, very first people to get there.
That's incredible. And I just love that the list is put together by your writers, your
Yeah.
journalists. Any other highlights you want to call out?
I'm trying to think what would be particularly great for kids. Well, also in the United States, there is Hot Springs, Arkansas. This one was written by my colleague, Zach Thompson, who is from Arkansas. It's the first time we've had Arkansas on the list. We've done it for 20 years. And we do a podcast for Fromers. And he said during that podcast, when he goes to other parts of the world, he will say it's almost as beautiful as Arkansas, which is something I have to say, Arkansas is one of the three states I've never been to, but the photos of Arkansas were mind-bending. It looked like the most beautiful areas of Colorado or Montana, gorgeous nature areas. It's called hot springs because there are natural hot springs, and they have these historic bathhouses. It used to be a hot place for gangsters to go. Actually, Al Capone vacationed in Hot Springs. And so
Wow.
they actually have a gangster museum that older kids would probably like. You have this wonderful national park there that's gorgeous. You have these historic bathhouses. You have really great new restaurants, hotels, and all of these wacky celebrations. It's apparently a very quirky, fun place, creative place. I think it's August, it might be July. They have something called the running of the tubs, where people put bathtubs on wheels, decorate them, fill the bathtubs with water, and get one or two people in them while the rest of the team runs them down the street. The photos are just hilarious.
I saw some of those on the list. I thought that was very funny. Well, Pauline, thank you so much. This is just such a great list.
We were one of the first organizations to create this kind of list. So now that everybody and their mother is doing it, it's important to know that ours, nobody's paying to be on our list,
That's amazing. That
which
is,
is not the case on many of these other lists.
and I love it. It is your journalists, you pulled them, your writers to put this together
Yeah.
and who have firsthand experience.
Absolutely. I mean, they're writing our books. I know you're in Florida. We have a great Florida book that just came out. We use local writers. I edited that one. It was fun to learn about the state, a fascinating state.
Yeah, there's so much here. We're in
Yeah.
Sarasota and it's just
Great museums. Ringling Brothers Museum, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Ringling, beautiful art. And then there's the circus part of the museum, good theater, some hidden gems.
Absolutely.
So great. Well, everyone will have to go check out that book. We will include a link to this amazing list in the description of the podcast. Everyone go check it out, sign up for their emails, listen to Pauline's podcast. There's just so much to explore from Fromers. It's an honor to have you on the podcast and appreciate everything that you do and your company to be able to make travel approachable.
Absolutely. And it's the best thing you can do for your children, I think. Beats any gift you can give them.
I agree so much. Thank you for joining us on the KeeKee's Big Adventures Family Travel Podcast. Visit the episode webpage for all the details from today and lots more travel planning resources. We look forward to traveling with you on the next episode. Adventure awaits!
Adventure awaits!